Chapter 1. The History. In shadows deep where secrets dwell, a broken web will break the spell. The last blessings of the four celestial sisters, from the protocols of the ancestors. All the splendor of the monarch's private bedchambers did not impress it. It was a spider, and human extravagances do not register with spiders. The curious tiny creature just crept up over the fire gold molding of the footboard onto downy white silken sheets, so to spy on two lovers locked in a morning kiss. If it could, the spider would have smiled. Out of the corner of his eye, Diodi saw it crawling closer. Oh no, a spider! His breath hitched. Where? Oto-Mani reacted with a jerk. On your foot! Oto-Mani's heart leaped as his foot kicked reflexively, bound by the bedsheets. Diodi, always the attentive but playful lover, snatched off his undershirt and began to violently swat away the pitiful thing. After a minute of swatting, Diodi reported, "It's off the bed. Probably gone to hide in one of your bed slippers." He flashed his best imitation of spider fangs while rumbling out a contrabass chuckle. Oto-Mani glared through a grin. "I should call the palace guard and have you and that spider squashed." They both laughed and then returned to their morning affections. Oto-Mani wanted just a few moments more of this sweet sanctuary before the weight of history pressed down on his royal shoulders. He wanted just a little more time to luxuriate in the gorgeous brawny arms of his secret lover and soulmate, Diodi, whose bodily presence was intoxicating. His scent was magical. Oto-Mani opened his eyes and playfully raked his fingers through the frisky freeform locks that crowned his lover's head. Sensuous, amber-colored eyes stared back at him, adoringly sleepy, and this warmed his loins. Born as Jamuzi but royally renamed Oto-Mani the 33rd, he inherited a long list of titles. The Sovereign Lord, Monarch, and Supreme Ruler of the Fire Realms of Rakana, Noble Master of the Royal House of Oto-Kanza, Primate of the Spiritual Orders of Mother Otama, and Blessed Custodian of the Protocols of the Ancestors. He was considered semi-divine by many common folks, but among the grumbling nobility, he patently was not. At present, however, he had a very common need. Too long had it been since he and Diodi, his closest confidant and chief palace steward, had the luxury to push aside the usual legion of problems and parchments inherent to royal duties, rub noses as they did when they were randy teens, and just enjoy private intimate passions far behind bolted doors. And today was also not a day for rest and romance. Today was a day of history. The central city and nearby regions of Oto province were alight with the news of a forthcoming royal proclamation that would change everything. Scribes and royal advisors surmised that commoners would hereafter dub the monarch, Oto-Mani, the Compassionate. For Rakana was a rich and powerful nation divided into 5 great lands, or provinces, ruled by 5 great houses. Oto was the central province and the largest and most powerful. It was ruled for over 700 years by one house, House Kanza, that took Oto or Fire in ancient Rakanese as its royal surname. And for 700 years, patriarchs of House Oto-Kanza sat upon the fire throne and had dominant control over the most precious resource in all of the lands, fire gold. Then there were the provinces of Mahi to the southwest, the 2 Idari provinces to the northeast and northwest, and Awa to the southeast. Each province had a patron goddess that corresponded with its chief element. Idari West and East were 2 cousin provinces that fought constantly over which was the favorite of the earth goddess. Due south was the sacred zone, and it was the domain of the gods from which all are forbidden to enter. To say that the various high lords who were governors over the various provinces were appointed by the sovereign was a euphemism. The realm of Rakana was a semi-feudal system whereby the sovereign appointed the man, never a woman, who was already the patriarch of each great house that for generations had ruled each of these lands. In actuality, the provinces were semi-independent territories within the nation of Rakana, that out of religious reverence or fear of the military might of the sovereign, contributed soldiers or part of their treasury to the royal province of Oto. At the heart of Rakana's enormous wealth was fire gold or haburu. No one knew why the flames of unmined fire gold blazed orange hot, but never burned the hands of the slave caste, the Aduma people, who mined it in the caves of Oto province's Mount Ishi. The origins of this ore were entangled in the founding myths of the Rakanan people, the followers of the Universal One and wards of Otoma, eldest daughter of the 4 celestial sisters of heaven. Mysteriously connected to fire gold were black crystal balls of various sizes called Orbani. Wherever there were great veins of fire gold, there were Orbani. They too were steeped in mystery, for only priests and fortune tellers had a vague knowledge of how to use them to divine visions of the past or present. No one knew just how many Orbani really existed, though the last royal tally counted about 1,000. The ladies and lords of Rakana lavishly used fire gold for all purposes that signaled wealth, power, and privilege. Not only was it minted to be the most coveted coin of the realm, but it appeared in everything from simple jewel brooches and dinnerware to adornments upon noble carriages or upon great stateroom doors. Because fire gold was a source of great wealth and power, it was also a source of endless conflict and at times civil war. Even though the dynasty of the House of Oto-Kanza had lasted more than 700 years, no fewer than 3 bloody civil wars were fought, because one lord or another brazenly challenged Kanza's monopoly chartership over the mines of Mount Ishi. While fire gold was omnipresent among the powerful and hidden under the straw mattresses of many paupers, Orbani were a rarity or oddity to all. Common folks considered the images of the past and present that some Orbani captured as good or bad omens. Either they were joyous messages from the ancestors or witchcraft foretelling a pending doom. Most Orbani remained opaque showpieces displayed on golden pedestals at great estates or summer manors. Only a few richly paid priests or fortune tellers in the realm claimed they knew secret incantations to make Orbani divine images upon demand. And this was even though most people believed these priests and fortune tellers were really only working clever parlor tricks. All of the wealth and mystique of Rakana's fire gold and Orbani came at an enormous human cost. Generations of caste slavery were imposed on a proud people called the Aduma, toiling in the natural furnaces of the fire gold caves. The Aduma were a beautiful, flame-kissed people who were the only people in all of the realm to be immune to being scorched from mining this precious metal. No one knew whether it was magic, witchcraft, or heredity as to why they were not burned. Scribes and doctors were baffled. Legends said that the Aduma were long ago cursed by Oto-Ma and her celestial sisters to occupy their state as caste slaves as a punishment for their extreme disobedience to the Universal One. Reformers thought this legend was racist tripe propagated by fire gold barons, merchants, bankers, and goldsmiths to ensure an endless supply of Rakana's most precious metal flowed from Mount Ishi. Rakana's economy would collapse without fire gold. Despite the Aduma's supposed fire immunity, the work was undeniably oppressive, punishing, dirty, backbreaking, dangerous, and mind-numbing. A great majority of the faces and bodies of Aduma were those of adolescents or young adults. For many, Aduma died before middle age, and the few elders who survived suffered long lists of ailments from choked lungs to blindness. Nearly every season the Aduma rebelled. They escaped, they rioted, they killed or poisoned enslavers. They incessantly petitioned the monarch for mercy. They did whatever they thought was necessary to breathe air as free women and men, air free of the toxins and oppressions of the mines. Still, for hundreds of years, the powerful and pathetic in Rakana permitted this horrible practice to occur. The Aduma were referred to as a lower race. Yet the only physical difference between the Aduma and others within the realm was the marker of them braiding their beautiful hair into long, flowing locks or wearing their hair naturally in radiant afros. Intelligence or virtue were not the province of the noble classes, by any means, for the Aduma were an ingenious and wise people. They had to be in order to survive their slavery as long as they did. Oto-Mani knew it was far past time for this inhumanity to end. So, years before his ascension to the Fire Throne, he decided as a boy that Aduma slavery was barbaric, and no just ruler should permit it to persist. Later on, it became a point of ugly contention between him and his cold-hearted father, who preceded him as sovereign. Publicly, Oto-Mani vowed that he would emancipate the Aduma because it was the right thing to do. Privately, he would emancipate the Aduma because his beloved Diodi was half-Aduma. Oto-Mani and Diodi did not notice that the frisky little spider reappeared, and after managing to flash the spider version of a smile, she then scampered away.
Now, good people, please like, comment, and subscribe to catch the next thrilling episode of Red Circles of Fire.